doctors? Are you feeling lucky? Are you ready to play the game? Who's going to be quickest? Who's going to be luckiest?
This is not a game!
No, it's not a game, sweetheart, and I mean that most sincerely.
Why are you doing this?
Yes, I'd quite like to know that too. You set this up, why?
Because it's not a game, Kate. This is a scale model of war. Every war ever fought right there in front of you. Because it's always the same. When you fire that first shot, no matter how right you feel, you have no idea who's going to die. You don't know whose children are going to scream and burn. How many hearts will be broken? How many lives shattered? How much blood will spill until everybody does what they were always going to have to do from the very beginning? Sit down and talk!
Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and we're back with more Doctor Who. Wow, we made it 2 weeks in a row before I... And so we're talking about more Doctor Who Season 9. I want to thank Belinda R. for helping make these happen, because Doctor Who used to be available on Amazon, and then they pulled it away for this HBO Max thing that hasn't even arrived yet, I don't think. I don't have it. I'm not going to get it. Just another streaming service that it's just too much, too many. This whole thing is going to collapse in on itself pretty soon, someday. Maybe not, I don't know. I was the one that was telling everybody to watch Netflix when nobody was watching Netflix, so who knows what I know, right? So, we're back, and we're this time, like, I've learned that I need to do the two-parters as one video. Same as how I'm thinking about Justice League, the animated series videos, compress all those things. Make it quicker. I kind of like to draw things out a little bit, but that's okay. And so from here on out, whenever there's a two-parter, we're going to do it. And this is the Zygon Invasion and the Zygon Inversion, both parts at the same time. And overall, I thought this was a really fantastic story. It has some cliches in it, and it took this till the second part for me to really understand what was the overall point, some of the things that were going on, some of the things that I said, oh, that doesn't really make sense, but then it makes sense later because it's Doctor Who. Of course, they're showing me one thing, and they give me the thing that I kind of figured it should be. The thing that I go, oh, no, don't do that. Then it's proven like, oh, they did that so that they could do this. There is a couple of moments in here that I just go, why? And it's just kind of cliched, tropey kind of things that just irritate me. But we'll get to that. But most of this was really, really good, and especially episode 8 I thought was really good. Because a lot of this is about war in general. Two sides, two opposing sides. In this, though, there was this piece where the Zygons, like 20 million of them, were allowed to live here on Earth, unbeknownst to the populace, which, that's not a good idea. They're shapeshifters, but they've got more than just shapeshifting powers. They can like shoot electricity through their hands and like turn you into dust and hair, which I think is really funny. Actually, that's a nice touch. They've just reduced us to like a ball of hair on the ground, but it really isn't a good idea to have a bunch of people who can look like anybody. And apparently, I think it has to have some kind of psychic ability to just know who your family members are and be able to turn into them. That was a part in here that kind of confused me, because there's like a scene with a drone strike, and before they hit the drone blows up, they get a close-up of these two people in a doorway that happen to look like the person running the drone's like husband and son. So what? It's not really them. You know it's not. And I know that they're supposed to play off of the, but they look like, fuck that shit. I hate that tired crap of somebody. It's the old adage of, which one is the real one kind of thing. You don't want to shoot the wrong one. Well, you know that this isn't the real people, so go ahead and do it. In fact, you should be more willing to do it because they're pretending to be somebody you love. Because they're willing to go there. I'd be like, oh, not only will I fire the gun once, I'll empty the clip. But anyway, this is about how the Zygons were here on Earth, and a faction of them decided to have an uprising, that they were tired of being stuck as looking like us, and they wanted to be able to be themselves. So they started taking out the ones in charge so that they could just take over the whole planet. Basically, it was like the old guard and the new guard. They were saying that the new breed of Zygons that were being born didn't like this whole peace accord. And I don't know what kind of parallels they're trying to draw here, that the old way isn't good anymore. But honestly, if it was keeping the peace, then the young ones need to shut the fuck up. But as far as identity goes, it's fine if they wanted to look like themselves. It's the way that they're going about it. And I feel like that's another thing that they're talking about, of like kind of like groups that have the majority say they want peace, like, you know, over in certain areas of the world, and then there's the fringe part, the fundamentalists, the ones that have more extreme ideas, the ones that, you know, cling to more extreme belief systems, that if you're not one of us, then you should die. That's what I feel like the younger generation is basically saying here. And so they start taking everybody out. But at the beginning of this, we've got the setup of, it was once upon a time, there were 3 doctors. So you've got 10, 11, and the war doctor. And then you had 2 Osgoods. There were 2 Osgoods. One was a Zygon, one is a human. And the human one was really obsessed with the doctor, is really obsessed with the doctor. I always think that it's really funny. There's a lot of really cool Easter eggs throughout this episode, and comments. I like how the one's wearing Four's like scarf. Yes, I remember who Four is. Oh yeah, see, because I bought this shirt way before I even like knew about it. Just because I saw all these doctors, like saw Indiana Jones and Dr. Dre and Doc Ock and Dr. Doogie Howser. It was like, oh, there's the doctors on there diagonally, and I honestly was kind of like, I don't really care. But now I do. I'm glad I bought this shirt. Well, one of the Osgoods died. I love on the tombstone how it just says, my sister. Which makes the argument for which one is she. And while I think they kind of allude that it's the human that lived, I would almost say that it's the Zygon who lived, because humans would put something more than just my sister on there, wouldn't they? Unless they're just kind of, maybe she's just one of those kind of detached characters that doesn't need anything on there. But there's this box, and it's called the Osgood box. And inside it, basically, they allude to the fact that something that could change everything is in this box. And it becomes like the big kind of MacGuffin throughout. By the end of it, this huge moment when you find out like the box and the purpose of the box, or more than possibly one. So you find out that this ceasefire is put in jeopardy. Truth or consequences, they say. Which really briefly deals with the town of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, which is a real place. And I don't know if they just put that in there so that they could, as something clever. They don't really do too much with it, but we'll get to that. Also, Gemma Redgrave. Gemma Redgrave, who plays Kate. Is she Lynn Redgrave's daughter? I'm thinking. See, again, this will be where people can tell me in the comment section how wrong I am. Because remember, guys, I've only been watching since season 8. Alright, I jumped in at 8 and 9 and 10, and I'm going to watch, I think that's where I'm going to stop, is after season 10. And then I'm going to go back, maybe all the way back to Eccleston, I don't know. But, so, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico is brought up by Clara. I do like this scene. I think it is kind of funny, this little moment of her remembering Trivial Pursuit answers, so she sounds ashamed that she memorizes questions so she can win. And it's like, I guess it's kind of like counting cards. Like if you play enough Trivial Pursuit, you will eventually get the same card again. And I can say that I've done that, but not on purpose. Like, I'll remember something that if I get the card again, I'll go, oh, I got this question before. It's a good thing I have a good memory for useless stuff. But the look on his face when she told him that, I think she's afraid that he's like, she's cheating and he knows she's cheating in a way. But I like that moment of like kind of exploring how her brain works. Like, so they talk about the nerve agent, this that turns all the Zygons inside out. Basically, it kills them. And somebody stole it. Two guesses who that was. And Clara, she finds this secret Zygon elevator. But it's how she finds it that's interesting. So she goes to the apartment complex, and there's this kid just sitting there. And this was the part where I like see the kid on the street. Now I know she's a teacher, so this is why it makes sense for the character. But again, I always just go walk past that kid. I would be like, yeah, where's your mommy and daddy? I don't know. Okay, bye. Well, she goes to find the kid's parents because she's a good person and I'm not. And they're acting really strange. They're doing the very obvious non-feeling, where is my son? Oh, there is my son kind of thing. You can tell they're not people. And she kind of looks like she doesn't understand that. And then the scene kind of ends. They take the kid, and the other thing is they pick up the kid, he's like, oh, like that, like he knows that it's not his parents. And she doesn't react. And then we cut away, and she's, walking away from it. This was a scene that comes back later on that goes back and makes sense, because I was like, why wouldn't Clara know that something was up there? Why would they cut away from that? Like, she just walked away from this kid that's clearly in distress. She being a teacher. But again, it pays off. But it made me a little mad. Like, why is the show writing it like that? So they try to do the drone strike thing. They bring in the doctor. They bring in Clara. They have the whole say where they just want to, get rid of it. Let's just wipe the slate clean of these Zygons. It was a mistake. We thought we could do it. We can't. But of course, the doctor being the doctor, he's like, we could find another way. We could find a way to peace. And like I showed in the clip beforehand, and I put that in there for a reason, is he's trying to talk about how he's setting basically everybody up. I mean, full spoilers, right? I kind of hate dancing around these subjects when we need to just get to it. So he's kind of setting everybody up in the beginning here. The stolen gas, the box, the two Osgoods, the whole thing that between the Zygons' ideas, this new faction of the Zygons' ideas versus what people on Earth usually do when something like this would happen. An alien, I mean, come on, it's an alien invasion. I think we have every right to just say, fuck them. But I think it's also telling like a refugee type story where people that are running from something don't, I don't know. I still really like the episode. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just how I'm seeing. I'm sure that like a lot of things, there's different ways to interpret it. What I think is kind of whatever. You could say, oh, well, it really means this. And that's what I love about fandom, is people being able to pull their own ideas out of things. Like, the only thing I don't like hearing is when people just tell you, no, that's not right. Like, your thinking is just not right about something. When it's like, well, that's why it's called my opinion and not your opinion. But anyway, it's early for me doing a video. So, rambly much? Population me. So, yeah, they go to do the drone strike. It looks like family wrote, so what? It's not them. Or is it? I actually had to go, or is it? Yeah, I don't know. How do they know? Like, this was before I was realizing that they can, like, I guess psychically get into your head and know what your family members look like. Well, Kate goes to New Mexico, finds basically the place empty, nobody there. The doctor goes to Turkmenistan. Another, like, all these places have the Istan next to it. Just so many Istans. Like, they just go, well, what's the town going to be called? I don't know, Kerbakistan. I don't know, for Flafistan. I don't know, or Blackistan. It just doesn't matter. As long as we put Istan at the end of it, it'll sound like we know, like we're getting our point across of where this place is. So here's the part that I got mad at. Which was the army guys go and there's a church. They're standing outside. They've been told what these guys can do. Don't let them in your head. Don't believe anything you see. You know that they're Zygons. The door opens after they're like, "Come on out." And the one comes out looking like his mom. And it's just like, I know it's not my mom. I know, and it just starts, "Don't shoot me because I can't remember the teddy bear's name," and all this bullshit. And I'm just like, then he just, "Oh, we want to show you inside. Like, we have an explanation, but let us take you inside the church and we'll, you know." And look, I know that this is, I don't know. It just, people aren't that dumb. Nobody's that dumb. And especially a soldier, a trained soldier who's told these things will look like them. You know it's not them because they're like, "Oh no, we're really hostages." They wouldn't do it. They're the worst soldiers in the fucking world if they fall for this. And they do. So they're the worst soldiers in the world. Because the soldier, you know, the one in charge, because I just don't see the point of the scene, like why they had to fall for it. I mean, I don't see any difference between the Zygons just running back inside, realizing they're not falling for it, and then escaping anyway. I don't know why they had to show that the soldiers were that fucking stupid. But anyway, so the one in charge breaks in, sees all the piles in the hair on the floor. They're all dead. They all got fooled, and they escaped anyway. So it's just like, it'd almost be like more like that they go, "Oh, it's not working. Get back inside. We got to get out of here." Because they just should have just opened fire on them. I don't know. But we find out also that in New Mexico, everybody's dead. But in that situation, the Zygons just came and killed everybody. They just turned on everybody. They didn't know what to do. They all just changed in front of them. And the local cop was just left there. But it's not actually the local cop because everyone's dead. It took the whole town, and we're supposed to think that Kate got hurt, but you know, Kate always survives. So when they cut away, I was like, it's just a moment of time before, you know, it's supposed to pretend that it's one of them, and it's not. It's really her, and I knew it from the beginning. The one thing I didn't know from the beginning was when they switched over from Clara to this one. Now, I thought that was a nice touch because that explains that when Clara was in that apartment, she didn't even get a chance to not fall for it. One of the Zygons comes in, zaps her, they take her, they put her in a pod. The other thing was the different ways that the Zygons operate now. Because they always thought that the original has to live in order for them to maintain how they look. But now they can, like, they don't have to necessarily. It's only about how much information they need from that person. And also they keep them alive in pods for information. It's a lot more apparently than originally planned. Except in the pods, if you're alive, you could insert some sort of control. Here I am fooling with my hair again. Over the person that's doubling you. And Clara starts to be able to move around, like when with the part with the RPG where she tries to blow up the doctor, she's able to move it for a second, and then giving the doctor time to come up with a plan to get off the plane with Osgood. But she also figures out how to text. You know, like it doesn't even know that she's doing it. So that was all pretty interesting. They say they want the world, and then there was like, Bill, basically your whole plan now is just your typical, the humans want to kill you because you want to take the world. We let you in, now you don't like it anymore, you want to change everything. And it's a good thing how the doctor does it at the end, because I think Kate have a point of, you did this without my permission, like the world's permission. But, you know, sometimes the doctor makes bigger decisions for everybody, and we'll see how that plays out later on in the series. maybe not. I don't know. As long as they have you know who in as number 13, lucky 13, right? So, Clara was taken. Yep, live as ourselves. So they want to live as ourselves, like I talked about. They think they've got unit neutralized. Clara's in a pod, like a la the Matrix. You know, she's seeing things through things, but she's also able to get information, like off the TV. She can hear the doctor. She can see the plane explode. And then she turns like the Clara lookalike does something to one of the Zygons so that it can't maintain its look in front of them. She's trying to force the war. She's trying to force them all to come out and look like they are, so that they'd force a war that they can't even win, because apparently, you know, like 20 million Zygons versus all the other people on the Earth. Like 20 million's a lot, but not compared to the entire population of the Earth. And they're basically like, again, like I said, kind of like fundamentalists, where they're willing to just go down with the ship, or at least this one is. This one's making the decisions for a lot of them. And as far as the guy who was forced into changing, he just wanted to live here. Some of them, probably the majority of them, just were fine living in peace, just living on Earth, because, you know, Earth's this big old Shangri-La to a lot of people. It's, again, like kind of a refugee thing where people want to come to America because it's better than where they are. And I get it. And so there's a lot going on in this, and I hate getting all political, because once you start going down the political road, then you start polarizing your audience. And so I try to keep my political beliefs mostly to myself, but this one's challenging that quite a bit. And then the uncomfortable laugh afterwards. And then the actual laugh when I realize how stupid I'm being. So, the line, "Don't look at my browser history," was pretty good. If they don't kill the OG, there's a chance for some control. I wrote that, okay. Clara, I like Clara and the Doctor having their own kind of shorthand ways to communicate through this. So like when she's like, she goes like this, that, like, "Where are you?" Like he understood what that meant. And that she wants to get into Clara's mind, but it's like basically she wants her to go into her mind, because the Doctor's like, if she goes into Clara's mind, she might never get out. When he says, "London, what a dump." I like that. I don't know, I don't live there, you know, but if he's allowed to say it, and I think that that's kind of an inside joke for, you know, people who live in Great Britain. So is this officially the first time he said his name is Basil? Or is that something else that I'm not remembering, that he said his name was Basil? And I would assume that that's based on Basil Rathbone, who was like the first original Sherlock Holmes played by somebody for the TV or movies. I think that's the reference that they're making there. I did like Clara versus Clara scene, where they've got their hands on this, "You can't tell me a lie," and she basically just runs her down to the fact that she gives her what she wants eventually, but figures out a way to keep her alive, because once she gets what she wants, where she needs to go to find it, she can talk to her again. And it's her way of keeping herself alive without giving away every single thing that she wanted to give her. And this is where we get to the end. Like, why can't I just live? I like this guy. He's just like, why can't I just live? I think that's a big point. This guy is the people that get caught in the middle, the collateral damage of a war. And he kills himself because he can't. He doesn't see a way out. So why not just die? So we find out that there were two Osgoods, so there were two boxes. One human, one not. And there's two choices per box, though. So they bring in the Zygon Clara, and Kate's got the other box. But in each box, there's a lid that flips open, and both say truth or consequences. And this is where Capaldi just, you know, has this great speech about war. And of course, by the way, Kate walks in and find out that it is really her and not a Zygon. And it's so, but it is a little anticlimactic. They do a cutaway, a Family Guy cutaway, like, how'd you get out of it? And I was thinking, but the only way she could have, it's in front of her, she's backed up against the wall, it goes, and she just shoots it 5 times. There's no, like, trick, there's no, like, little thing, she just blows it away, and I think that that's almost like a great subversion of just, like, how did she get out of it? Well, how did you think? She blows it away. But the speech of, like, him trying to get through to them is basically, you know, cruelty begets cruelty. War is like this whole pointless thing that gets you to really what you need to do in the first place, which is just sit down and talk. He does it a lot more eloquently. That's why I put the little clip in there. But all the death, all the collateral damage, all these things for all the differing opinions. Now, I do think that Kate is in the right here. They're threatening the human population. And while there may be innocent Zygons, they never should have... See, we get to this whole thing where we could talk about who's allowed to live here and who's allowed to not live here, and closing borders and refugees and all this stuff that is actually controversial in the world. But we're not talking about actual refugees. We're talking about aliens that come from another planet that could kill us if they so desired, take over our lives, invasion of the fucking body snatchers. So, like, at the end, even though Capaldi is so amazing in this scene, I still kind of think that Kate was right. I mean, like, when they find out that there's nothing in the boxes, or at least they believe there's nothing in the boxes. There's nothing that's ever actually said that says that there isn't some sort of device that would turn them all inside out or blow up the whole building. That's what I love about it. It's not really a stalemate if you don't really know what the consequences would be, because Capaldi, you know, the doctor gets through to her. And they have to zap Kate. And I think he says something like the 15th time. It's been the 15th time before we got to this. So it almost feels like they've been running this. Like, am I correct in thinking that this happened like 15 other times? But they still had to zap her and make her forget. Because I honestly think she still would have been like, I think we need to kill these mofos, man. I think we need to end this. This did not work. You know? But I'm not... And I'm still understanding the doctor's point. He's because of what he said, the things that he went through in his own war. He does not want anyone to have to experience that level. And so he'll try anything. He'll do anything to prevent any kind of big war like that. And so in the end, I mean, I get it. I just don't have to agree with it to get it or like it. I mean, I think this is a really good episode. A really good two-parter. So everything gets... They even forgive her. They forgive her. There's a lot of people dead. A lot of people dead. And again, she just gets to walk. I don't know how I feel about that. The whole town of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico is gone. Plenty of people in Britain are gone. And she's just allowed to become one of the Osgoods at the end. And again, I know my friend Belinda, who is responsible for continuing me, you know, helping me continue to do these, because I want to continue to do these. She'll tell me all sorts of more eloquent ways of why that makes sense, that she gets away with it. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe she doesn't like that they got away with it. I don't know. But, I mean, not really getting away with it. She has to live with what she did, but I don't know. Part of me wants to see her swing. But again, maybe that's the whole point, is the warlike mentality, right? That I want to see blood. It's not really, you know, like, she's an alien who killed a whole town full of people. What do you think should happen to her? But they never, again, throughout, they never explain, like, which one, why does it matter which Osgood I am? I'm Osgood. And that should be good enough for you. And I get that part. And while this episode may have its little, not so subtle commentary that it's making, I do really think that the point of the message is war is bad. And I think we all occasionally need to be reminded of that. And the empty boxes, whether they're empty or not, who knows? See, if you give the answer, then once you get rid of the subtlety, once you actually say what's in something, it's like learning what's inside the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. It takes away the whole mystery of it. It's always the question mark. Speaking of, yeah, like the question marks on her shirt and how she always says, like, you used to wear question marks, you know, what is the question, all that stuff. So I'm going to, before I get too far off topic, really good episode. Glad I watched it. I can't wait for next week's two-parter. I think it's what, Heaven Sent, Hell Bent. A friend of mine said she thinks Heaven Sent is the worst episode she's ever seen. This is not Belinda talking. This is an actual friend of mine who knows I'm watching Doctor Who and likes Doctor Who. So I don't know. We'll see. But if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications, all that jazz. Like, sharing is a big part of this. If you like Doctor Who's content that I'm making, please share it with the rest of the Doctor Who community. I know I am not coming at this from a super fan standpoint. I am coming at this from a newbie standpoint. I almost feel like I should call these Rob's Noobs Doctor Reviews or something, Doctor Who Reviews. But yeah, share the videos. Those are like more important to me than like almost a like and a subscribe, because getting the word out there really helps me be motivated to do these. It's one of the reasons why I was willing to stop making these, was because if nobody watches them, why would I pay to review a show that nobody wants me to talk about? So that's all I'm saying. So if you like it, make sure you let other people know that you like it and that they should check these videos out. Otherwise, this is Robert Smirking Interviews. Yeah, Twitter at reviews_gun. You can follow me there. We'll see you next week for the two-parter Heaven Sent and Hell Bent. Have a great weekend and have a great day. Bye.